everybody. Welcome once again to Still the Mom's Word of the Week. I'm recording this on July 29th, 2021, and I want to start with something that your mom and dad probably told you. Do everything without complaining or arguing. So, did your mom or dad ever tell you to stop your whining? Mine sure did. And I told my kids that, and now my daughter Katherine is telling little Miss Heritage the same thing. Well, complaining and arguing is a universal thing, but it's evidently not just for children, because in Philippians 2:12-18, Paul is talking about everyone when he's talking about this topic. And that's something that you can read the whole thing. I'm going to look at just a part of it here in a minute. So when Jeff and I went to Europe in 2013 for our 25th wedding anniversary, and we were also celebrating that within that same year my 50th birthday, one of the places we visited was Edinburgh, Scotland. As part of our Scotland trip, Jeff got to play golf with some friends at the old course at St. Andrews, which, if you don't know what that is the oldest golf course in the world. And yes, many of his friends were very jealous. So I wasn't with him that day because my friend and I, instead of playing golf with the guys, decided to visit some castle ruins nearby. That's what I would prefer. But from the stories that I heard, there was a popular Scottish phrase that Jeff learned that day. Evidently, there was some whining and complaining going on the golf course. And one of the Scotsmen popped up and said to one of the whiners, "Oh, stop your whinging." Now, when someone is complaining in our family, we tell them, "Stop your whinging." We think that's kind of funny. Anyway, so let's go ahead and look at those verses in Philippians 2 again. I don't want to study all 7 of the verses like I mentioned above because that would take longer than what I want to spend today. But I do want to look more closely at verses 14 and 15. And this is what they say. Do everything without complaining and arguing, so that no one can criticize you. Live clean, innocent lives as children of God, shining like bright lights in a world full of crooked and perverse people. According to the letter to the Philippian church, there is a reason that we should do all we do without complaining and arguing. It is so that no one can criticize us. The New American Standard Bible says it this way, so that you will prove yourselves to be blameless and innocent children of God. And then it goes on, but that's just the part that I wanted to highlight. So if you remember reading the stories of the descendants of Israel as they traveled through the wilderness, you know that they did a lot of complaining, even to the point of making God and Moses kind of tired of dealing with their attitudes. And I would have been tired of it too. They complained about everything. They complained about the food, the water, the fact that they thought God had taken them out of Egypt only to let them die in the desert. And I'm sure they complained about any other thing that they thought was not as they thought it should be. So most of us have full, blessed lives. Let's be honest about that. Most of us have all of our needs met, even though we all face hard times. Most of us have little reason to complain, especially when we take time to look at who God is in our lives and all that He's done to provide for and take care of us. So in a very real way, our complaining appears as contrary to the life that God has offered us. I understand that there are times when something catches us off guard and we find ourselves complaining, but for the most part, the people of God should find sweet water coming out of their mouths. So I had an incident a couple of weeks ago that rattled my peace and caused some fussing on my part. It wouldn't be fair for me to tell you to stop complaining and arguing if I didn't admit to my own faults. So I was due to have some friends come for a Bible study that morning, and I all of a sudden noticed I tried to turn on our water. There was no water. And so after some calls to my husband and some calls back and forth to the water company, it was discovered that they had turned off our water for non-payment. What? The only thing is, we have paid our water bill every single month. So with no notice, they didn't tell us they were going to turn off our water, and it was also done unjustly. We didn't have any water, and we had company coming. And then the babysitter forgot. So another friend could not come and bring her children. So by the time my first friend arrived, I was no longer in a peaceful mindset. Yes, I did some complaining. How dare the water company turn off our water, both without notice and in spite of the fact that we have paid our bill every single month. The nerve. Anyway, our water was restored. The Bible was studied. We even worshiped and we prayed and we really had a sweet time of fellowship. But sometimes we forget that the world is watching. And if I'm sharing with my friends who don't know Jesus and I'm telling them about the abundant life that Jesus came to give me, but then all I can do is be grumpy about everything in my life, no one is going to want what I'm selling. And what about that part of being a bright light that is shining? Granted, even a dim light will provide some relief in a very dark place, but how much better to be a light that fills the darkness, giving sight along with insight to those who find their lives affected by mine. I'm not preaching perfection. I am, however, encouraging both you and me to strive to stand out as different from the world. We are image bearers, truth carriers, freedom bringers. For someone to want to listen to my message, my life must look different. I want others to take notice of the way I live so they will be curious about what makes me different. If I don't stand out above the crowd, why would anybody want to hear my message? The right to share truth with someone, I believe it must be earned. And what better way to gain entrance into someone's heart than by modeling a life that honors the name of Jesus Christ? So this week, let's work on that complaining thing. No more whinging, no more arguing. It really is okay to allow the other person to be right. I just want you to hear that for a minute and to say nothing. It takes nothing away from my convictions to allow that other person to be right. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining me once again for Still the Mom's Word of the Week. And don't forget, the next time somebody's whining or arguing or complaining, you are free to use our Scottish term and tell them to stop your whinging. Thank you.